In this video, I'm turning one of my patrons' favorite magic cards into a real life object, and he has no idea that I'm making this for him, and so it's going to be a really fun surprise when he gets this in the mail. If you're new to the channel, welcome to Ninja Nerdcraft. This is where I make videos about nerdy items and crafts that I make, and then I get to share them with you guys. Now, before we jump into things, make sure you hit that like button. It's one of the easiest ways you guys can show support for the channel, and if you guys like watching these types of videos, it's an easy way for you guys to support me so that I can keep making more of them. And speaking of support, in this video I'm going to be making a special gift for one of my patrons. His name is Philip, and he's been one of my patrons for years, and he's been supporting me at a higher tier for years, and so I wanted to do something special and surprise him with this gift. But I also wanted to say thank you to all of my patrons. I really appreciate your support, and so I did make a special smaller gift for all the rest of my patrons as well, and for anybody that signs up on my Patreon in the next month, I'm going to give you this special gift as well. So if you haven't signed up for my Patreon yet, now is the time to do it. So stick around until later in this video and I'll tell you more about this gift. So I found out that Philip's favorite magic card is Gaea's Cradle, which is a card that has a lot of nostalgia for me as well, and it's got some amazing artwork. And because I know that Philip is a fan of art like me and he's an art collector, I figured, what do you do with art except put it into a frame? And so my idea is to take the art from Gaea's Cradle and 3D print it and paint it and then put it inside of a frame. So let's get going. So the first step in the process is we're going to design and make the 3D model. Now luckily for me, somebody had already modeled the artwork from Gaea's Cradle, and so I just had to take it into Blender and adjust it a little bit, make sure it was going to be the right depth and the right size so that it could fit into the frame, and do just a little bit of touch up in Nomad Sculpt. But once I had all the measurements right, I just exported the file and was able to start the 3D print. And I chose to print it in this dark charcoal filament, and you'll see in a second why I printed it in this dark filament. When I get to the painting, you're going to see I have a cool idea in mind. But here's how it looked when it was done. And honestly, this by itself in the frame would have looked really good. But I had a different idea for painting it that I've been wanting to try for a while now. So basically what I wanted to do with the painting was I wanted to start with a really dark color, and then I wanted to slowly build up lighter and lighter colors, so that in the end it's going to have mostly light colors, almost like an old Renaissance marble statue or something like that. And it only has the dark colors remaining in very few spots. But let me just show you instead of just talking about it. Basically what I wanted to do is make sure that the focal points of this piece were the brightest white, but then they also had left over from the very beginning some of that dark charcoal color behind them. So that way when you see the piece, those focal parts in the middle, for example around this fairy and down towards the flowers, those are the areas that have the most contrast, the brightest whites and the darkest darks. So that's where you look first. So quick story interlude here. I mentioned how Gaea's Cradle has a lot of nostalgia for me. Back in the 90s when I was a kid and was playing Magic, I had 4 Gaea's Cradles, and I stopped playing Magic in about 99, but I got all of my cards back from my parents later on. But at that time, having just gotten done with college, having just gotten married, I had like zero money, and so I ended up selling a bunch of my more expensive Magic cards. But I'm talking dual lands, probably for like 30 bucks. These Gaea's Cradles, something like 20 bucks each I sold them for, which is a little bit sad, but honestly I don't regret it because I used that money to buy my first camera. And so it's a good story because, you know, the money from these Magic cards allowed me to get into my career to where I am today, where I'm directing commercials, and it really helped me get into this career doing video and photo work. So kind of a cool story, but let's get back to the project. So after doing all of those different layers of paint and after it was all finished, I put it into the frame, and I think it turned out really good. So let's take a look at the finished product. Thank you to all of my patrons. I really appreciate your support. So I'll be packaging this off and sending it to Philip as a surprise for him. And once he gets it, I'll post this video up. But for everyone else, I also made something cool. I spent some time the other day because I'm really excited for the Final Fantasy set being released. So I spent some time the other day doing some artwork for Cloud. So I made these cool proxy cards of Cloud, ex-soldier, more in a style that I really like, which is a Japanese grungy style. And I'm going to be sending them out to each of my patrons. And if you're not a patron yet, you can get one as well. Just make sure you head over right now and sign up for my Patreon. Again, it costs as little as $3 a month, which is less than a booster pack or a cup of coffee. And you get to help support me and my channel so that I keep making these kinds of videos, as well as get other benefits, for example, gifts like these, giveaways that are just for my patrons, access to design files and STL files, as well as you get the opportunity to join the queue, which is where you can get access to previous crafts that I've made on my channel, the kinds of items that I don't sell anywhere and that I don't make available for the public. So go check out my Patreon. The link is down in the description. I've got some really exciting videos coming up in the near future, so subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one. All right.